His journey with Kino had been a very enjoyable one. In that case, why don't we keep traveling? I'm undead like you, so we can travel forever, can't we, Satoru? Let's go and see a broader world. There are so many places we haven't seen before. Can you forget about this, please? I could. It's not right to do something my friends don't like. Trying to put someone in my debt would only vex them. Yes. Let's go traveling together, forever, okay? Just the two of us. We're undead, after all. Don't do dangerous things and continue traveling with me. That was correct. Suzuki Satoru had no right to determine Kino's happiness. If traveling together was happiness, then would he not be showing kindness to Kino by doing so? However, Kino fearsome, Suzuki Satoru shouted, and Kino shrank away from him. Yes. I'm sorry, Satoru. Please don't get mad. I'm not angry. Being a princess should be a job, right? Huh. Kino's mouth hung open in a stupid-looking way. She was probably showing how she could not keep up with the sudden change in topic, and did not understand his meaning. Suzuki Satoru mocked himself in his heart. It couldn't be avoided. Like I was saying, being a princess is a job, right? Is it? It doesn't feel that way to me. So, does that mean kings and queens are unemployed? Is it not how it is? When you put it that way, that might be the case, is it? Now, on to the next item, gaining the approval of more than half of the guild's members. Well, there's only one person, but that counts as more than half. A baffled look appeared on Kino's face. In addition, you're a heteromorphic creature of the type known as a vampire, Kino. In other words, you have cleared all the requirements. Now then, Kino fearsome, I recognize you as a member of Ainz. You shall be the 42nd member. Or should I say, the second member of the new Ainz. Ainz took out the ring of Ainz from his inventory, and gave it to Kino. Kino's expression flashed from shock to normality to shock again. She had heard Suzuki Satoru talk about how important that ring was to him countless times. It stirred her emotions up enough that they had to be forcibly suppressed. Can I? Yes. Kino, you're one of us now, a member of Ainz. You have the right to take this ring. Of course, this ring would only be truly useful in a place like Nazarick. Without Nazarick, it was simply the proof that one was a member of the guild. And now there are 2 members of Ainz. Who knows, it might be a good idea to find another 58 members in this world. Thank you, Satoru. Kino put the ring on delightedly, as though she had forgotten what had happened just now. Suzuki Satoru watched her, and then faked a cough before speaking. Now then, Kino. To me, there's one thing I cannot tolerate under any circumstances. And that would be, forgiving anyone who has done wrong by a member of the guild, and who is still at large. No, it's just a little hardship. Traveling with you. Suzuki Satoru did not let Kino finish her sentence. I might be able to turn your zombified parents back into human beings. Kino froze, and her eyes wavered. Kino, this is what you hoped for, isn't it? To stay as one of the undead, and resurrect your parents, am I wrong? Or do you want to become human, along with your parents? Can you do it? I don't know. But Kino, nothing would delight you more, am I right? Kino looked in all directions, and then she lowered her head and quietly replied, yes. In that case, Suzuki Satoru's course was set. It was only natural that a guildmaster would fight for his guild members. Kino. Kino raised her head suddenly as she heard the iron in his voice. Do not let your guild bind you. There is no need for that at all. I must go, first to see what caused this all to happen, and then, depending on the circumstances, I'm very sorry, Kino, but you must stay here. Kino hesitated for a few seconds, and then she nodded. She was no fool. She understood that she would be holding him back. Now then, I'll use Create Fortress to build a fort some distance away. You don't mind staying in there, do you? After leaving Kino in the fortress that he had made, Suzuki Satoru stared at Mount Kadini as its slopes were barren, with little vegetation. It was time to switch minces. The first problem was how to investigate the destination to which the city's residents had headed. He had a higher chance of figuring it out if he cast Fly, but if there were enemies around he would be spotted easily while floating in the air, as opposed to if he were on the ground. While he had perfect unknowable to use with it, there was a certain reason why Suzuki Satoru considered it a bad move. A steady and grounded approach would be best. While he ought to have cast Fly to search from above if there were no enemies, Suzuki Satoru was certain that there was a powerful enemy around. Of course, while he could not be certain that all the information he had gathered to date was accurate, he was sure that there was some intelligent being behind all this. His basic objective was to defeat that enemy, and then rescue Kino and her parents from their undead transformation. Ideally, he would be able to restore everyone in Kino's country. The chances were annoyingly high that he would not be able to negotiate a settlement with this adversary. After all, he had caused so much damage. At the very least, he was probably a being like Suzuki Satoru, who held no love for others. Then again, there was a small chance that they might be able to make a deal. The problem would then be the terms that the other party would set. To begin with, he did not think the other party would make any material requests like asking for treasure and the like. After all, if he had wanted, he could have ordered the undead residents to deliver it all to him. He had made and could command them, after all. However, all the valuables in that city had been abandoned. Then could he defeat his foe and demand that he do so in exchange for his life? Is that possible? Is my opponent someone I can hold back on and still accomplish that? Suzuki Satoru had already acknowledged his foe as being on his level. No, he imagined said foe to be stronger than him. However, it was hard to imagine a being more powerful than himself. He had collected information on many mighty beings during his 5-year journey. While he had learned it through money or force from various knowledgeable individuals, what they all agreed on was that the mightiest beings in this world were the ones known as the Dragon Lords. In fact, he had already confirmed that one of them had the same fighting power as he had. However, one could not say it was far stronger than himself. In that case, he should be able to use strategy and tactics to triumph against his opponent, even if it was a Dragon Lord. Still, I have the feeling that I'm heading into the enemy's lair. That gives them the terrain advantage. After that, Suzuki Satoru recalled the lessons contained in King for Dummies. Right after a patch, that would be the right time. Powerful players attacking in small groups, that's the people united. So what about this time? I don't know. Only, it's going to be a gamble. Of course, all this was founded on the assumption that the culprit responsible for the zombification could restore the people to normal, or that he knew how to do it. If that was not the case, then he shall pay the price for his foolishness. Suzuki Satoru changed his gear. He put away all the equipment he had obtained from Yggdrasil, and dressed in the gear he had stolen from Corpus of the Abyss save for a divine class ring on his left hand. After that, he wore an icon of Corpus of the Abyss around his neck. He also had a crystal with a spell sealed into it. Truthfully speaking, Suzuki Satoru was much weaker now than he had been just now. Leaving aside the tremendous drop in his ability modifiers and defensive power, his resistances were now riddled with holes. While he still had the HP of someone of his level, he could not place too much faith in that. In addition, he had to avoid any attacks which would instantly kill him. There's one more thing, how should I do it? I'll prepare a bit more before reaching my destination. Suzuki Satoru sent a message to Kino, telling her that he would need a little more time. After that, he teleported to his objective. After finishing his preparation which had taken quite some time, Suzuki Satoru returned to his original location, and began moving by way of fly. He advanced toward the mountain without lifting too far off the ground. It felt like gliding and thought about his strategy as he did. The occasional fallen bone pointed the way to his destination. While they had been crushed to powder and blown away, the denuded mountain was very obvious. Suzuki Satoru lacked any tracking skills, but he followed the clear traces up the mountain. It was as though the bones were guiding Suzuki Satoru to the being who had made them like this in revenge. He climbed the mountain without losing his way, and soon. Ah, we're here. An undead being, His undead detection skill was something like an omnidirectional radar. There was a blip on that radar. Suzuki Satoru looked in that direction. Is it over there? Is the culprit behind all this over there? This skill could only sense the presence of the undead, not tell him their identity or their abilities. Well, it was largely conjecture. The creature that had turned the city's people into zombies and brought them here ought to be over there. Having cast fly on himself, Suzuki Satoru advanced a step forward, then ground to a halt, standing stock still. Although his face could not display any changes in expression, perhaps Kino might have been able to discern them. Suzuki Satoru's face had gone stiff. That was because the number of undead reactions had rapidly increased with just a single step. What's this? The sheer number of blips stacking onto each other made whatever it was seem like a huge ball of light. Suzuki Satoru held his ground and looked straight ahead. The terrain was very rocky, so he could not see the location of the ball of light. Did I gather zombies, bind them together and then do something with them? What should I do? Should I send a zombie over to see what's going on, then think about what to do next after I figure out my opponent's identity? But that approach posed a problem. If his enemy was very intelligent or possessed magical knowledge, then this would be a poor move. Also, Suzuki Satoru snorted. Things being what they are, what are you thinking? Suzuki Satoru mocked himself. Suzuki Satoru dispelled the fly spell and began walking. Suzuki Satoru's mana recovery would not have been affected even if he had not dispelled the fly. However, sustaining the fly spell might lead to his mana recovery going into the negative once he started casting other spells. More to the point, he had to consider that things might develop in a bad direction if he showed his opponent that he could cast the fly spell. Suzuki Satoru continued walking. Suzuki Satoru sensed the number of undead reactions growing with every step he took. I don't have any basis for this, but I think I can guess what it is, Suzuki Satoru muttered to himself. Yggdrasil also had an undead monster which resembled the one he was imagining, but that undead would only display as a single undead reaction. Now then, false data life, false data mana. Suzuki Satoru cast 2 spells on himself. Then, he shifted his mind into PvP mode. No. He has shifted into PK mode.